Good morning. Let's start. It's 8:35. Thank you for showing up here, and also we have almost 70 people online. Let's see. And going up. Well, today is the last forum for this year. As you remember, we don't have forum in November and December. The dates are right before the holidays, so we never had them in those 2 months. So this is the last one. We have some updates from here, and hopefully we would get questions from people who are attending. Let's see. On my part, I want to make sure that you have seen the message I sent out yesterday regarding NSF on our listserv. I've sent it out. That NSF is upgrading their software, and they would be closed in the announcement. It says from Friday night on November 8 p.m. Friday night, all through the weekend, and through the Monday, which is the Veterans Day, and they are expecting at this point to have the system available 6 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So all of that weekend and Monday would be gone. There won't be any access to anything there, research.gov and Fastlane. So nobody would be able to do any proposals in there or anything. But anything which is there before that date, obviously, would become available again on Tuesday morning. Chris would talk about some deadlines coming up right after that, 2 days after that. Chris would give us the detail on that. But again, the most important issue is that for 3 days, the system would not be available. But there are some enhancements coming in that they talk about in the announcement, such as some of the special characters showing up as question mark now in their system. It would become whatever the special character is. So that's that. That's my update. If there are questions, we try to answer them. But next person, I think Donna, you want to talk about the information updates regarding the ALAC site visit, the very successful ALAC site visit. I'll get out of your way.
Thank you. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Donna Routley. I am the Institutional Animal Care and Use Committee Director. Dr. Lori Brignolo and I were going to tag team this morning. However, we've had a bit of a change of schedule. Yesterday, we began day 1 of a completely unannounced USDA inspection, so she's handling that this morning. So you're stuck with me this morning. I'll do my best to get through everything and answer any questions. First and foremost, a huge congratulations and a huge thank you to anyone who was even peripherally involved with our ALAC site visit that we recently just had. Let's see, my slide's not going forward. There we go. So at the last forum, Lori and I were harping on everyone. We had been harping on everyone for the last several months about ALAC coming and everybody needing to get their ducks in a row. And so ALAC came, as we knew they were coming. They began the site visit on September 27th, which is a Friday. We met them down in El Centro, California to begin our one of our off-site visits. And from there, it progressed throughout the rest of the week. We ended on October 4th. As we've talked about before, this was a very comprehensive review of our veterinary care program, our entire compliance program, our comprehensive review of safety and security. They met with multiple people on campus, not just the animal care team, but they met with all of our campus partners as well at EH&S, met with the upper administration, met with fire, police. It was a very comprehensive review. And as we've talked about before, it starts out like from a 30,000 foot level. They're looking at our entire program as far as how do we work together. what are our processes? What is our program as a whole? And they get down through the course of the week. There were 4 teams going, 8 people creating 4 teams going different directions throughout the week, and getting right down to the animal level, you know, looking at the nitty-gritty food and health of individual animals. So I am extremely ecstatic to say that there were no mandatories, and this is ALAC speak, and it means they talk about commendations and suggestions for improvement. So if you get no mandatories, that's really, really good. And that tells us we will probably get a clean letter. One thing I want to emphasize is this is the site visitors' recommendations to ALAC Council. ALAC Council will not meet until, for us, for our group, they will not meet until January. So we will not actually get our official formal notification until March. Currently, we're ALAC accredited. Their recommendation going to council will be continued full accreditation. So we're very, very happy about that. If there was mandatories, those mean in order to keep our accreditation, we have to fix something. There's no choice. There's no option. It doesn't matter. You have to fix it. Commendations are things that they feel we're doing good. They want us to continue doing. And suggestions for improvement are things that we may or may not want to do. We can argue if we don't feel it's appropriate for our campus. But generally, we do take suggestions for improvement very seriously and implement them. I'm going to just briefly cover what these are, because you'll see a few changes in our program because of these. So commendations, one of the things they highlighted, the administration and institutional support. This is huge. They look at support from the top down. They don't just want to see, is the animal care tech who's changing the cages trained? They want to know, is there administrative support? Is there resources provided? Does administration take it seriously? Do they recognize the importance of this? Do they provide the equipment, the facilities, the people that are needed to run a huge program like we have at UC Davis? And they were extremely complimentary of Prasant. He is our institutional official. He's our, what we call our go to jail guy. If we screw up, it's ultimately his responsibility. He did a fantastic job. Couldn't have been happier and prouder of him and more impressed and pleased all the way around. They really liked him a lot. He's a very engaged institutional official. We're very fortunate to have that on our campus because not all campuses do have that. They commented on the administrative restructuring for the animal care program moving from FOA to Office of Research. So those were some of the overarching commendations. They were extremely complimentary of our entire workforce and what they called the 4 C's, the camaraderie, the cooperation, the collegiality, and the communication between all levels, upper administration, middle administration, all the way down to the cage washer person. And you know, recognizing that everybody has to work together, and it's extremely important that we do and that we cooperate and collaborate, because no one person can do the whole program by themselves. It requires everybody's help. And they were extremely appreciative and complimentary of our partnership across campus. For example, a partnership with the animal care program and environmental health and safety, partnership with occupational health, partnership with other compliance areas within Office of Research. So again, regardless of how you might have been involved, if you were the least bit peripherally involved, it was noticed. They discussed our occupational health program, recognizing that we do have some frustrations with it. They saw that, but they felt that overall it was inclusive, it was very well managed, it captured what needed to be captured. And so for those of you who have had some individual frustrations with your lab of getting people involved in it, we do recognize that. We actually discussed that with ALAC to some degree, but they're looking at what is our overall program and do we have processes in place to make it work and processes in place and plans to improve. They talked about our innovative animal care program in general, and just a few examples they gave were creative use of recycled materials for enrichment, especially in at Primate Center and at large animal area. They again talked about our campus partnerships, extremely complimentary on that. They teased out the Laboratory Safety Awards program and specifically mentioned that in the exit interview. This is something that Safety Services does. The IACUC was involved in that, partnering with them on this brand new first-time award. It actually ended up being, coincidentally, but it ended up being an animal care lab, PI, Dr. Karen Bales, who uses animals in her lab, who actually won the $5,000 award. And Office of Research actually partnered into that award by putting in $2,500 along with Safety Services. So again, the collaboration was noticed. That was a theme throughout the week, the collaboration. They talked about a fully engaged IACUC program. They talked about and complimented the meticulous, thorough veterinary records and the very talented facility managers at every vivaria. Each vivaria has a facility manager in charge of it. They talked about our core facilities and our imaging capabilities. They complimented us on what they called squeaky clean and said we can tell old dirt from new dirt. And so they were recognizing that even though a lot of our facilities are old, we run the gamut. We've got brand new facilities, we've got very, very old facilities. And they said despite the condition of our facilities, they feel that we're keeping them up. Our facilities management program is doing a good job. And again, they know the difference between new dirt and old dirt, so they were quite happy with things. They talked about our scientist in charge and technician in charge management program. We abbreviate that as our sick tick program, but I figured a lot of people aren't going to know what that is, so I'll put the whole words up there. And this is just a program that we get together with all the scientists in charge and, well, mostly technicians in charge on a monthly basis and provide updates and best practice discussions, things like that amongst the different vivaria, because we have such a diverse group of people. Some people are working strictly with zebrafish. Some people are working with monkeys and cows. You've got mice and dogs and cats in there, 63 species all around. So there's quite a diversity and a lot to share. People do things differently, but we can share good ideas. And so on to suggestions for improvement. You'll notice the theme of what I talked about with the commendations were all relatively large scope, programmatic processes, big picture things as far as how do we make things work, how do we fix things. So that is very good. I point that out because the suggestions for improvement primarily point to individual, small, easy to fix things, not big programmatic improvements that are required. And we have actually, by the end of the week, we actually had instituted many of these already. So they recognized that, but it still was what was going into their report. So there were a few rack washers that they found that did not have the appropriate signage both inside and outside, which is a requirement, not just one or the other. So we've got all of the rack washer signage up now. They felt that there was not appropriate level of signage for zoonotic diseases in some of the zebrafish facilities, just notifications. People go through the occupational health program, but they wanted to see some additional signage. Easy fix. There were what they call crazed and cracked rodent cages that they saw in many of our facilities. And it does make the daily observation of animals difficult if you've got heat damaged cages. When the cages go through the washers over time, you can't see through them as well. So we have since ordered, I forget the exact figure, but a significant number of new cages to replace. So again, that's pretty much fixed as well. One investigator lab space that they discussed the condition of the floor, they felt it was difficult to sanitize. So we've got facilities on board to fix that already. They were concerned that while we do have a transportation policy and we do have campus-owned dedicated transportation vehicles, we do still allow a lot of transportation in personal vehicles for animals across campus. You might have a PI who wants to drive rodents from one side of campus to the other, from a vivarium to their lab. They strongly suggest that we look into that and consider revising our policy. Now, this is something that we have started revising the policy. It has not been completed yet. We haven't entirely decided exactly how we want to handle this. And we certainly don't want to be in the business of inspecting everybody's personal vehicles during our semi-annual inspections. So this is why this is still warrants a little bit more discussion. We have drafted into our policy, which I think will be approved, and I think you'll see it moving forward, that is the PI's responsibility to ensure that if any of their staff have cars that are vehicles that meet certain criteria, and will define the criteria and then state that at the attending veterinarian's discretion, they could be inspected if necessary. The use of MS-222, which is either a tranquilizer, anesthetic, or euthanasia agent, depending on the dose, they were concerned at 2 of our off-site locations that this was not buffered appropriately, as was described and approved in their animal care and use protocol. So that has since been changed. Those facilities are now buffering appropriately with some retraining. And then at one of the off-site locations, they were concerned at the method that the lab was using to prepare the MS-222. It is an irritant. It does have some safety PPE requirements or engineering requirements. So that was one of the issues we needed to address, and it has been addressed. That policy is also being revised. They were concerned that mice on one protocol were not consistently being observed to the degree that they were stated they would be observed in the protocol. And if they were being observed, it was not documented to prove that. So we had to work with that particular lab. Again, if you think back on the first couple slides I showed, the big overall map, the 30,000-foot view, and then down to the nitty-gritty view. This is what I'm talking about with the nitty-gritty view. You know, they're actually looking at individual documentation of individual animals. They were concerned that in a few areas, some single-housed rodents did not receive the additional enrichment per our IACUC policy. Our IACUC policy is actually a little more stringent than what is required. So we are determining, do we want to revise our policy? Do we want to still continue to require the additional enrichment? Animals already do get some enrichment. This was the additional bedding that they wanted to see added, like to make nests. And then the biggest thing that has not been resolved yet is the HVAC temperature swings in some of the cat facilities. They are fairly broad. They are well within the range of what you would see in your own home, and they're well within the range of the Animal Welfare Act. So we're not in violation with USDA on that. The guide, though, the research guide that most facilities use, they recommend that you don't have a swing more than a couple degrees. And so we had swings in some of our facilities during a 24-hour period that would be, again, like what you might see in your home, 10, 15 degree swings between day and night. And so they've asked that we consider tightening that up. And we are looking into that. Of all of the suggestions for improvement, that potentially is the only real expensive one other than the replacement of the cages. I do want to emphasize, though, that's on my mind because USDA is here today. They're going to the cat facilities. So while they may be aware of this and they may note it, it is not a USDA violation as we currently have it. So what's next? Post-site visit communication. We had 10 working days to address all of those 9 suggestions for improvement that I just went through. And that was optional. You don't have to do it, but it's highly recommended. And if we do this, it's very likely that come February, March, when we get our letter, that will be acknowledged in the letter that we've addressed all of these issues. So it's highly recommended to do. So we have done that. It was sent off, and each of those 9 points were addressed. The council writes the report. So again, as I emphasized in the beginning, it's the council, it's not our site visitors. Of the team of 8 site visitors that came to campus, 2 of them are council members though. So that's to our benefit. They'll be taking this information back with them. And again, it's continuous self-evaluation, continuously moving forward for improvement. That's our goal. That's what we want to do. That's why we invite ALAC here, for them to give us suggestions, to look at our program with fresh eyes and point out to us that, hey, your transportation policy maybe needs to be looked at a little differently. We'd like you to reevaluate the HVAC in the CAT facilities, things like that. And And then also, you know, the things that we're doing that maybe we don't have to do, but are they recognizing those, all the commendations? Those go a long way. They help make a very good program. It's going to encourage us to continue to foster those partnerships, especially with multiple units on campus. End with my favorite slide. Thank research and please pick out something. I'm going to pick out, if you had an operation and you slept through the whole thing, you can thank animal research for that. So thank you very much. Again, warm thank you. Congratulations to anyone who was the least tiniest bit peripherally involved in this. It made a huge difference. Thank you so much.
Any questions for? Let's go ahead. Well, thank you, Donna. Any questions for Donna on what was presented? I see over 80 people online and here. Do you see any questions coming in? There's no questions. Thank you very much. Let's see. I guess next one, Paula, do you want to talk about the SubAwards and update on SubAwards? That's why we have the screen showing the website right now.
Not loud enough on my own. Huh? Yeah. Good morning. I just wanted to share a few words about SubAwards. I know we don't give a lot of updates, but it's my turn to start doing so. It's a busy time of year for us. We're down one FTE, but just gained a brand new one. Chris Carpenter left us. She is still with UC, but in a different capacity. But we have filled her slot with Maria Thompson, and I'm sure you guys have probably worked with Maria as she was part of the awards team on the med school side. So we're thrilled to have her on the team, and we'll get her up and running soon. I just want to touch bases because this time of year, it seems that our PIs were out during the summer and everybody's come back, and the SubAwards are coming through, I don't know, 10, 15 a day. I think our count right now is we have at least 50 per analyst or so. We have 3 huge US aids that have just come through that all have very large SubAwards on them, and there's a few USDAs that also have up to 80 or more subs. So we are super busy, but I just want to give everybody a reminder that we have updated our forms. So please ensure that when you are giving the request to the SubAward team inbox that you have the new forms. And I just kind of want to show you on our website that we have updated our instructions. It's been up for a few months, but just in case you guys haven't visited our cool site lately, I'm going to show you where that's at. So at our homepage, and where's the mouse on this lovely thing? Is it working? Oh, I was using the pointer as the mouse. Don't tell anybody. Okay, here it is. All right. So if you go to our homepage at Sponsored Programs, you see these cool little buttons here. If you go to Outgoing SubAwards, which is our team, Cassie helped us update this website to make it more user-friendly. But the specific section that I wanted to point out is sending a request to SPO, and that's the third item here. So if you see here, you can see the instructions. There's hyperlinks to each of the forms that are needed to send in a request. So we hope this is more user-friendly. We'd love feedback from you guys if you're experiencing difficulties or if this is something you really like. But I just wanted to go over that all of these forms are required. I know that it seems like an additional administrative burden, but there are compliance items that we have to ensure that are completed in order for us to issue SubAwards and make sure that we are monitoring them appropriately. The new SubAward request form is on this site along with instructions. we do have a new sole source justification form that I think may be confusing a few folks because thank you very much for completing it. We do not want you to have to do any additional administrative burden. So I will be updating the site here under this section for when that justification is needed. I think that it needs a little bit more clarification. And that justification is only needed if the mechanism in which we are issuing the subaward under is a federal contract. We must have the sole source justification form. Or if it's a grant or cooperative agreement in which the subawardee was not stated at the proposal stage. So this has been coming through as extra paperwork for you guys, and I want to ensure that you guys are not having to do that. So if you guys have any questions, please email SubAwards team directly or your analyst, and that's my update for today.
Okay, thanks. Any questions for Paula and SubAwards?
Right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
There was just one comment under the Zoom group chat that said, Cayuse is a great tool. We now have that allows the department PI to review the status of the request under the SubAwards tab. So,
Yay!
good comment from the group.
Thank you. Okay, good. Okay. Next is Chris. You want to give update on proposals, please?
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to give you a quick update to follow up with Ahmad with what he mentioned earlier as he sent out the email notification through the listserv this week that NSF is closing down their fast lane system from November 8th to November 12th. That does follow the long holiday weekend of Veterans Weekend. We wanted to make sure that you were aware that because there is a large proposal deadline for NSF on November 14th, please prepare your proposals in advance of that weekend in the system. You can still continue to work on your narrative and bios, current pending, so on and so forth for your attachments, but create the shell, enter your budget if possible so that we are able to review that before the closure if possible. That will allow us to give you a full review before we come back on Tuesday, the 12th, and we'll have less than 5 days to review your proposal. So please keep that in mind with that upcoming closure. In addition, we have a large NSF deadline on Halloween, October 31st, next week. So hopefully your proposals are being routed and we receive them by tomorrow so we have our full 5 days to be able to review and respond to you as quickly as possible. In addition, coming into November, since we will not be meeting anymore until January, we wanted to let you know that there is also a very large NIH deadline, which is November 5th, as well as November 16th. So please prepare, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact our office. If the proposal analyst is not assigned, please reach out to proposals@ucdavis.edu. In addition, just to give you a quick update on staffing, like Paula did with her team, proposal team now has filled a number of their spots, and there's only 2 open recruitments. One is an analyst 2 and one is an analyst 3. So if you're interested in joining our team, please feel free to apply.
Okay.
Other than that, unless there's any other questions, we're good. Thank you for all of your support as well. Brian?
Okay.
Oh, I want to say something.
Okay, that's
Okay.
okay, thank you very much. Okay, Brian from the award side. Brian is one of the team leaders there in the award side too.
Yeah, so this is just a brief update. So if you have any awards with USDA NIFA, the National Institute for Food and Agriculture, because of their move to Kansas City, we've noticed that an extraordinary number of staff there have left the agency. And so requests for no-cost extensions or prior approvals are are incredibly delayed. We've been seeing delays of 6 to 8 months. And so if you have a project where the end date is, sometime in the spring of next year and you want a no-cost extension, you need one, we recommend submitting it now to get it in the queue and to start working on that, just because the delays are, they're just extraordinary. And then we also have 2 vacancies on the awards team, a research administrator 2 and 3. So apply for those when they post.
Thank you. That brings us to James for contracts and grants accounting. Yeah, that's your office. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. A few, just one main thing. So UC Path is live, right? The best news that I'm aware of is we all got paid. So that's good. So, but just to let you know, there are still some downstream systems that have been impacted by the rollout, basically because we now have new employee ID numbers, so trying to get everything all lined up. So the effort commitment system is currently, unavailable, basically. The PI ledger review is available, but depending on what time frame you're looking at, you may not be able to see all the data, or you get you don't get the employee names anymore in the payroll section of that report. So we're trying to get that fixed. And we're also trying to get something plugged with the cost share application. So several places where we're trying to get all the fix-it tickets are in. So we're just trying to get it through the programmers to get them to make the changes so we can test it and get it rolled out. I want to point out one other thing with UC Path is that we now have multiple salary cap indicators that are available to us. So it used to be the only thing we did through the system, through the payroll system, was the NIH or HHS salary cap. But now oops, I just lost the list. So currently we now have a list that includes CIRM, Greenwell Foundation, still HHS, James McDonald Foundation, National Institute of Justice, National Multiple Sclerosis Society, P. Corey, and Susan G. Komen. This is, if there are additional sponsors that are identified, it needs to be coordinated through UCOP, so it'll take a little bit of time, but we imagine this list might be built out a little bit more over time. And then one thing that came up yesterday that hadn't really crossed my mind was we had a case where we had a flow through. It was P. Corey money that was flowing through the Kaiser Research Foundation. So we hadn't tagged that as being subject to the P. Corey cap, but now that was identified, we put it in tag. So if you see anything, if you have any flow throughs of that flavor, not a federal flow through, just from one institution or one sponsor to another and then to us, and we want to apply a cap, we should be able to put that in the system. So hopefully that'll add some additional controls and keep things smooth for the financials. Okay, that's my update. Any questions? Okay, good. All right. See,
I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Regarding the salary cap, is it, the entities that you listed, are they using NIH salary cap or they have their own?
They are, well, they have their own. In the system, they're set up with their own. I think sometimes they will, like the CIRM, don't make me do this off the top of my head.
That was planned.
Some of them will use like the quote unquote NIH salary cap, which is executive level 2 salary cap. Mm-hmm. Some of them have their own caps, so it's just whatever it is. And then in the system, we put OP puts in whatever it is, and then OP keeps them updated as the caps change. Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
So, next question that
yes.
I have been receiving a lot. Any update on the FNA?
No.
No update on FNA. Still, we are in provisional, and that's what we are using.
We're using that, and yep,
It's our second year of provisional.
keeps rolling.
Okay. Okay, good.
Okay. All right.
No more questions. We have over 90 people online now, too. Craig, update from compliance. Thank you.
This is actually not going to be so much an update. So I'm Craig Allison. Most of you know I'm the Director of Research Compliance and Integrity. And since Chris and Brian took the opportunity to announce a vacancy, I figured, why don't I? So yes, in my unit, small unit, I have a vacancy for research compliance analyst. And as I think many of you know, but maybe not all, my unit wears a number of research compliance related hats. We handle the conflict of interest in research process, the ECOI process. We support the stem cell oversight committee. We get involved in a committee called HASTOC, Human Anatomical Specimens and Tissue Oversight Committee. If there are allegations of research misconduct, my unit handles those, and my practice is to have all of my analysts get involved in a little bit of all of that, as opposed to one specific area. What else do we do? Some export control. We get involved in export control as well. I think that hits the high points.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so if you're compliance minded or you know anybody that is, look online. I think the recruitment closes, if I'm not mistaken, in 1 week, but go check it out. And if you want to talk to me or any of my analysts more about it, feel free to do so. Thanks.
And as you have been always saying, the function is not policing. It's just providing service to make sure that we are in compliance.
Yeah, no, there are occasionally jokes about we're the compliance cops, and I don't like that, because as Ahmad said, my objective since I've been here for 8 years is always to be, we're on the same team, we work together, we want to advance your research, we want to make sure we work with you to make sure it's done compliantly. So that's always been our objective. And I hope everyone agrees. Yeah, you're nodding. Okay, thank you.
Is there? I see something. Is there a question there, or no? There's some chats. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for anybody or anything related to what we are doing? Remember, we won't have these meetings for the next 2 months. So if not, we are going to stop soon. James has a question.
You didn't mention we also do responsible conduct of research.
Oh, Craig just mentioned that one of the other things that his team is responsible for is managing the responsible conduct of research, which we do have meetings basically once a month, lunchtime presentations by different parts of the campus. I think the first one was, we had it last week. It was IA, the technology transfer, Nancy Rashid, and I did the first presentation on research, multi-PI type of research, basically research collaborations. But lots of really exciting sessions are coming up. They cover all areas of animal care, IRB, conflict of interest, all sorts of compliance. So, and it's a requirement for receiving federal money. So lots of people have to take those. Thank you. If nothing else, we would stop now, and we'll see you in January.